Page 121 for grammar. 121.
The recording will work out anyways, because I have to leave early.
Okay, I'll just keep it going then. Okay, page 121, we're talking about the adverb clause. You guys know about ly adverbs. This is a little different. An adverb clause is a group of words that begins with a www word. Don't worry, I'm going to explain what that means. And contains a subject and a verb. An adverb clause must be added to a sentence that is already complete. And here's the pattern. It's www word plus subject plus verb. Okay, so the people who wrote this grammar book came up with a way to memorize these words. Kind of like fanboys, right? We've talked about that before, right? Fanboys, which is the coordinating conjunction. This is another fun way, easy way to remember what these words are. And it's www.asia.b. It sounds like a website. And it's not really a website, but it's a way to remember what these words are so you know how to identify them in this book. So here they are. www. So those W's stand for when, while, where. So www stands for when, while, where. And then we have Asia. A is as, S is since, I is if, A, although, and B, because. Okay, Tyler, did you have a question?
No, I just had a comment. So it looks and sounds like a website, but it doesn't have the HTTPS dot in front of it.
Exactly. But it's kind of a tricky way to give you a little, something to remember those words by. But yeah, it's technically it's not a website, but so when, while, where, as, since, if, although, because. So when you think of www.asia.b, I need you to memorize those words: when, while, where, as, since, if, although, because. Now, in this book, you're going to place parentheses around the adverb clause, and you're going to write AC, adverb clause, above the www word, right? V above each verb, and S above each subject. Now, remember, clauses have a subject and verb pair, but phrases like prepositional phrases do not. They don't have any verbs. Sorry, I had to turn off my heater. It's actually warm.
You're usually cold.
I know. It's like it's sunny outside. It feels like spring. And then I heard it's supposed to snow on Saturday. So it's like really up and down crazy weather lately. So, okay. So anyway, this is how you mark it. Look at this first example. As the nose grew, it became long and heavy. So this is one of the soldiers, and this is the nose tree, remember? So this is where we get into why it's called the nose tree here. But anyway, as is the first A in Asia, stands for as. So that's the beginning of the adverb clause. As the nose grew, and then notice it's in parentheses, and you have your subject, which is the nose. That's the thing that's growing. And grew is the verb. So the clause, the adverb clause, has a subject and a verb, and it starts with one of these www words up here. Look at the next example. The soldier sat because his nose was too long. So the word because is the B up here for dot B. Go ahead.
I've already been able to memorize it, so that's pretty good.
That's good. Yeah. Once you say it a bunch of times in a row in your head or out loud, you'll get it. Because his nose was too long, or I'm sorry, the soldier sat because his nose was too long. So the nose is the subject and was is the verb here. So notice that it has subject and verb within the clause, adverb clause. Now there is a couple of comma rules right here. Here's the pattern. If the adverb clause, that's the AC right here, If that comes first, you need a comma. If it comes after the main clause, you don't need a comma. And that's these two examples. See how the adverb clause comes first here, so then it does require a comma. And then the main clause. And then here you have the main clause first, and then the adverb clause, no comma for that. So it depends on the order of the sentence, okay? Down here, they want you to think about this because, and there's that word, because it is part of the adverb clause. But if you have because of, that makes it a prepositional phrase. So that word because is a little tricky. You have to see if the word of is next to it, that means it's a prepositional phrase. If the word of is not next to it, then it's probably an adverb clause most of the time. And they're showing you two examples. The first one down here, look where it says prepositional phrase, the soldier sat because of his long nose. Now, since there's of right here, this is underlined because it's a prepositional phrase. Look at the next example. The soldier sat because his nose was too long. That's the adverb clause because it has nose as the subject and was as the verb. Notice this one doesn't have a verb. Because of his long nose, there's no verb in there. So you have to pay attention. If of is next to it, it's a prepositional phrase. If of is not next to it, it is an adverb clause. You guys have any questions about this page? Okay. It'll make sense the more you practice it. I always say that. It's true. Any volunteers today to read? Okay, Tyler. Thank you.
When they found their unhappy friend who was lying helplessly under the tree, they groaned.
Good. Okay. And groaned is our vocabulary. We all know what groaned is. You probably groaned this morning when your mom was like, time to get up. And you're like, oh, I know how that goes. I don't have my mom waking me up anymore, but my alarm goes off and it's like, oh, I don't want to get up. All right. So it is a verb. It's a sound that we make. And then there's one article. Go ahead and find that and label it by yourself. Two nouns. Nasiah, where are the nouns?
Tree, friend,
Tree and friend. Good. That's right. And then William, how about the pronouns? Where are those at?
They,
Wait, say it one more time.
they,
They is one
here's another three.
and another they. Good. Back to Tyler. How about the adjectives?
I was hoping I'd get the adverb clause. Lion,
Wait, oh, lying, is that what you said?
yeah.
So we're looking for actually for adjectives that are describing the nouns.
Oh, okay, so unhappy.
There you go. Unhappy.
Under,
It's actually this word there is the wrong, it's the wrong there, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
Yeah. Do you know how to spell it?
Their.
There you go. And then that means that the friend
is-
belongs to them. It's their friend. Yeah. Telling whose friend. So that becomes the adjective. Good. ly adverb, Nasiah.
helplessly,
Good. Helplessly. And then we're going to come back to the prepositional phrase, but William, what about the who which clause?
Starting from who and then tree.
Going all the way to tree. Good. And we're going to label it W/W. Good job. And then lucky you, Tyler, you ended up with the adverb clause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When?
Starts with when. Good. That's by the way, let's just write this in just because I know it's new for you guys and that will help you on your homework. www.asia.b. Starts with when. Where does it end?
Okay, so I kind of forgot where it ends, so let me look real quick.
It's gonna be a complete thought, basically. So it's gonna
Okay,
go, yeah.
so it ends at friend.
Yes, it ends at friend because it's not going to overlap with the who which clause, but it is a complete, pretty much a complete thought there. It's describing the friend. That's what it says in my notes here. So let's see. So we got that. Oh, we're going to label it AC for adverb clause. And then how about the subject verb pairs, Nisaya? Where are the verbs? Let's start with those.
Lying,
Lying is a verb. Yep.
found,
Good.
under.
Under is not a verb, actually.
Really?
That's going to be a
Grown.
preposition. Yeah. What was the other one? Oh,
Groaned.
groaned. Yeah, groaned is one. And there's one more, actually. It's a helping verb.
Was.
There you go. Good. Now, who are the subjects in Nisai? I'm going to have you find the subjects too. So who found?
They.
Good. And then the who which clause has a subject. What's the subject in that clause?
Who.
Good. And then at the end here, who groaned?
They.
Good. That's right. Now the prepositional phrase. And there's only one. Do you see it, William?
Under the tree.
There you go. Under the tree. So under is a preposition. Which one should be capitalized, Tyler?
For the capital?
Yeah,
When?
good. The first word, easy. End mark, just a period. And then we already fixed the homophone, which was there. And we're done. Good job. All right. Your homework will be the next 3 pages, 124, 125, 126.
I didn't finish writing everything down yet. So I
I
might be a
just
little bit
erased
behind.
it. Oh my gosh.
It's fine, I can probably find the prepositional phrase though.
That's under the tree.
Yeah, okay, I was thinking helplessly under.
No, not helplessly, but just under the tree. Sorry about that. I took that off really fast.
There's a bad glare. So I went to squint, and then by the
Oh,
time I could see it, it was gone.
so sorry, Tyler. Sorry about that. I'm just like buzzing this morning. Do you need anything else? You got the rest of it? Okay. All right. Well, um, the binder, you guys finished up your report on Antarctica. You did a great job with that. I think I've graded pretty much everybody's. If not, I will soon. And I noticed you guys did a great job with your topic clinchers and your dress up words. I do want to talk to you about a couple of things here. And honestly, I don't remember whose paper it might not even be somebody in this class, but I found a couple sentences that didn't really flow with the who which clause. So I want to talk about the who which clause for a second.
Okay, well, if you say the sentences, it might be me.
I honestly, truthfully don't remember. So I'm going to write a sentence here. You don't have to write it down. Just watch me because we're going to talk about it. So I'm going to put the seabird. And then is king penguins. This one needs a couple of things done to it. And then they adapt to a critically harsh climate. Okay, so two sentences here, and this student underlined critically. And then they decided, you know what, the seabird is king penguins. That sentence is already a little bit awkward, but then they just decided to put which here, like that. And then they underlined, like, that'll work. I'll put a which there. So now it says the seabird, which is king penguins, they adapt to a critically harsh climate. That is awkward. It does not flow very well. So you can't just stick a which clause or a who clause in there without looking at the whole sentence. Because like I said before, which, who, and which, they take the verb away from the main part of the sentence, and there has to be more after it. So do you have an idea, Tyler?
No, I just wanted to say one of my sentences I don't think really fitted well because I had it, like, which is none other than winter.
Okay, did I already grade your paper or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay, so I probably will say something about that unless you want to fix it, unless you have an idea of how to fix it.
It
But-
doesn't give me access after it's submitted. It tells me that I need to request edit access.
Okay, I'll make sure to send it back to you then, after class. This has the word is, and then it has penguins plural. And that's one of the problems with this sentence is that is not that's a singular verb. So are, is what you would use if you have plural. Or you can take the S off of penguin, so we can say the seabird is a king penguin. Or we could say one seabird is a king penguin. Or one of the seabirds is a king penguin. So I'm going to fix that. I'm going to put A and take off S. So now I have the seabird is a king penguin, but we have which? The seabird, which is a king penguin, that works, but we need more. So then I have they adapt to a critically harsh climate. Do you guys know of a way we can fix that and make that one big sentence? How could we fix that? The seabird, which is a king penguin, how can we make that flow a little better with adding that second sentence as part of the first sentence? Tyler?
This probably doesn't go well, but this is just an idea. The seabird, which is a king penguin, has adapted to a critically harsh climate.
Yes, 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 yes. Has, so I'm going to draw a line through that and put has adapted to a critically harsh climate. Now we need commas also around the which clause. So I'm going to put one here before which and after the which clause. So now the seabird, which is a king penguin, has adapted to a critically harsh climate. Yes, yes, yes. That's so much better. Do you guys hear how that flows? Way better. Good. One more. This one. Good job, Tyler. Due to Antarctica's warmer weather, some scientists are concerned. They are concerned that the ice might melt. My pen is running out of ink. Okay, due to Antarctica's warmer weather, some scientists are concerned that the ice might melt. That's okay. That's an okay sentence, but this student goes, well, I need a which clause or a who clause, and I'm just going to put which here and just call it good. That's what they did. So now we've got, due to Antarctica's warmer weather, some scientists which are concerned that the ice might melt. Now it doesn't make sense. So that's either not a great spot to put the word which, or we need to add something else to the sentence. What do you guys think? How can we fix that? Due to Antarctica's warmer weather, some scientists which are concerned that the ice might melt.
I was thinking you could do due to Antarctica's warmer weather, some scientists who are concerned that the might ice melt, but that doesn't make sense.
That's better. That's better because we're talking about a person or people here. So you're right. Who
But
would
it
fit
still
better?
doesn't fit, right?
It still doesn't fit right. Do you guys, how about Nasiah or William? Do you have any ideas on how we could fix this?
Due to Antarctica's warmer weather, which concerns some of the scientists, I have nothing else.
Okay. Well, you're thinking. I think which goes next to weather better. I like that. Due to Antarctica's warmer weather. That's a good spot to put that, but then we need to tell more about the weather, like which, oh, what if we did what if we move warmer? What if we did due to Antarctica's weather, which has become warmer? Some scientists are concerned that the ice might melt. That would actually work.
That actually
works. So due to Antarctica's, I'm going to take this out. Antarctica's weather, which is now warmer. I could put that, trying to squeeze that in there, comma, before and after the which clause. So due to Antarctica's weather, which is now warmer, some scientists are concerned that the ice might melt. That would work.
when people think of Antarctica, they think of really cold weather. Well,
It is.
it's actually gotten in the summertime, it's gotten pretty warm.
Well, for them, it's pretty
Yeah.
warm, but according to California, not even
Oh
close.
yeah, yeah.
But
You
you're
wanna know
right.
what warm is? Come here, you'll get 100 degrees right away.
Uh-huh.
Bam. You wake up,
Right.
it's 70 degrees.
Like their warm is still below zero. So, we can't even compare, but
Their
you
cold
guys,
is like negative close to 100 probably.
it was like a negative 128, I remember reading or something like
So
that.
their warm is probably like negative 50.
Yeah, something crazy like that. But you guys, even though, I technically came up with this at the end here, but you guys were on the right track. You're like, well, which doesn't go with scientists? So that was on the right track. You wanted to either change that to who, or like Nasiah said, put it next to weather. That now makes a lot more sense. So when you guys pick a spot for your who, which clause, if you already have a sentence made, you can't just plug it in there. Okay. You have to read it and see if it flows, see if it has that second verb after it, because right here, which is, so you have is as your verb here, which is now warmer. Some scientists are concerned. So see how there's more verbs. So you don't want to just plug it in there. You have to add more to the sentence. All right, enough about that. Go ahead and put away your Antarctica week 11 behind finished compositions in your binder or wherever you keep your finished stuff. Okay, so go ahead and put away Antarctica. And then behind the source text tab, where we get the next one in the front here, you're going to take out week 12 Marco Polo. And yes, that's a real person, by the way. I know it's a game we play in the swimming pool.
Yes, but it is a real person.
It is a real
I
person.
know about him.
Oh, cool.
I actually have to go now, so I will
Okay, Tyler.
see you next week.
See you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. So Marco Polo is 1, 2, 3, 4 pages you're going to take out on week 12. And you also need a lined piece of paper. So make sure you get that out. And then give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Four pages for Marco Polo, week 12. And then a lined piece of paper. Okay, thank you, Nasiah. And we're going to start with the lined piece of paper. Don't forget to close your rings. Good job there. I saw that. Okay, I think William's still getting out week 12 here. Marco Polo is a real person in history, but I know that name first from the game that we play in the swimming pool where one person goes, Marco, and everybody else in the pool goes, Polo, and then they run away from the person, whoever Marco is, right? And then there's fish out of water, you know that part? Where if the person who's Marco thinks that you're out of the water, if he says fish out of water or she says, then you're it, right? He has to try to, or she has to try to figure that out. But it's a fun game. I mean, that game has been around forever. So, all right. You're going to know that this guy traveled a lot. So that's why the background of that game is trying to find Polo, his last name, because Marco Polo, the real person, actually traveled all over the world. So they probably had a hard time keeping track of him. That's whoever thought of the game. All right, you got your stuff, William, ready to go? Okay, let's start with the line paper. Go ahead and put your name and date here. Today is 2/29. And we're going to skip a line, put Marco Polo and KWO. So we're going to just set up the keyword outline. You guys are only going to focus on one paragraph today for your homework, but we're going to set it up for 3 paragraphs because we'll do the other 2 next week. So go ahead and skip a line. You know the drill, Roman numeral 1, and then you're going to do 1 through 5. Try to make this really neat, okay? Keep them in line. Skip a line and do 2, Roman numeral 2, and Roman numeral 3, and I'll give you a minute to get that down. Okay. Go ahead and keep writing. I'll just explain a couple things. We're writing another research paper like you did for Antarctica, but this is a person. So it's called a biography when you're doing a research paper or a report about a person. And we're still going to look for possible topics because like we did for Antarctica, remember how we read the whole article and then you made a note in the margin, like this paragraph was all about ice and this paragraph was all about the weather and people. Remember that? So same type of thing, but now we're talking about a person. So we're looking for possible topics about Marco Polo. And if you looked ahead, the article is pretty long. It's like 3 pages, front, back, and then a whole 3rd page. So it's a long one, okay? And we need to look to see what our possible topics are going to be. So what I want to do first is read this, each paragraph. You guys focus on underlining important or interesting facts like you've been doing, okay? You're just going to use your pen or your pencil and underline as we go. Try not to underline everything, okay? Try your best to just pick and choose what you think is interesting or important. And I'm going to go ahead and start reading. And you guys focus on underlining, okay? In 1254, Marco Polo was born into a rich merchant family. I'm going to pause there for a second. 1254 is like almost 800 years ago, long time ago, way, way, way back. And the word merchant back then in those days was a trade. Like they would have maybe his family grew cotton and he traded cotton for another family or another business that raised cows and had beef. And so he would trade cotton for beef or meat, right? So merchant is just trading. His father and uncle had traded in the Middle East for years, gaining wealth and fame. Although his mother died when he was young, he was raised in Venice, Italy by relatives. He received a good education and learned the skills necessary for the business of trade. His father and uncle left for China when he was 6 and returned when he was 15. They had met the Mongol emperor who sent his greetings to the Pope. Okay, that's the first paragraph. Hopefully you had a chance to underline a few things. And in the margin, I want you to write the words early life. So this is basically his childhood, right? His early life. And a lot of times, like almost 100% of the time, whenever you're reading an article about a person, especially somebody from history, they usually start with that, like their early life, like where were they born and what kind of family they had and what was it like, when they were young. Okay, I'm going to keep going. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to read the next paragraph. You guys underline, and then we'll talk about what you think the paragraph is mostly about. When Marco was 17 years old, he left with his father and uncle on a trip across Asia to China. They set off from Venice in 1271 and sailed to Israel. They carried letters from the Pope in Rome. Okay, so the Pope is in the Catholic Church. It's like the highest priest. Have you guys heard of the Pope before? Okay. No, okay. So basically there's just different levels of priesthood, the ones that are trained and who understand the Bible and who can preach, right? I'm giving you just a basic definition of it, but the Pope is pretty much the highest position in the Catholic Church. So they're very revered and they have a lot of wisdom and they're usually old. So anyway, he carried letters from the Pope in Rome. So he took letters from the Pope to the people. Okay. In Jerusalem, they were given some sacred oil to present to the Mongol emperor. So sacred oil is just something else in the Catholic Church, in the religion that they believed was holy. Okay. 2 friars, they're also people in the Catholic Church, were ordered to accompany the merchants, but they abandoned the expedition. Instead of sailing around India to China, the Polos decided on an overland route, passing through Iran, then Afghanistan. They continued east. The Polos' caravan traveled over mountains and through deserts, following the oasis. After more than 3 years of travel, they finally reached the court of the Emperor Kublai Khan. So they started out by sea, and then they decided to just go across the land, across Asia, which is huge. And it took them a long time, 3 years, more than 3 years, to get to the Emperor Kublai Khan. So here's part of the story of Marco Polo traveling. And, in the game, we say fish out of water. Well, in his real life, he actually did get out of the water. He didn't sail the whole time. He got out and crossed the land. So kind of a little fun connection there. But so this paragraph, I would say, is about his travel to China. So I'm going to put travel and China. His goal was to get to China. Remember, he started in Venice, Italy. Completely different country. So he was trying to get to the emperor in China. Did you guys get a chance to underline some stuff in those paragraphs? Okay, good. Go ahead and turn to the back. See what time we got. Okay. And keep going. The great Khan was delighted to see the Polo brothers again. So the brothers were the dad and the uncle, right? They're brothers. He received with joy the letters and gifts they brought. I see. So the Pope was writing letters to the emperor. That's what that was. Discovering that young Marco was intelligent and had a talent for languages, the Khan appointed him to high posts in the government, probably as tax collector. He also went on special missions for the Khan, traveling throughout China and to Burma and India. His father and uncle possibly assisted as military advisors during the siege of Saianfu. During this time, Marco and his family gained wealth as well as the favor and protection of the Khan. So obviously this emperor really liked Marco and his dad and his uncle. And so he's giving them jobs to do now in China. And the dad and the uncle now are helping with the military in a high level. And then Marco was assigned tax collector. Now, I don't think I'd ever really want to be a tax collector because you guys probably heard your parents talking about taxes before. And if you've ever heard them talk about taxes, it's probably usually like, this is ridiculous. How are they expecting us to pay these taxes? We already pay this and we already pay that. And now we have to pay this. I mean, I don't know if you've heard your parents say that. I say it. It's ridiculous, especially in California. So we're fighting that all the time. Taxes are really frustrating, and it's a lot of money that they take from us, from our paychecks, from our house. I mean, you name it. So I would not want to be a tax collector, but the tax collector made a lot of money. So for him, he became wealthy and he became important to the emperor because the emperor needed somebody to collect the taxes. So I guess, it was a good thing overall for him, but all right. So this next paragraph is about his work in China. So I'm just going to put work in and then China, because he and his dad and his uncle all were given a job to do while they were in China. Okay, going on to the next one. The Polos remained in service to Khan for 17 years. When they decided to leave, he asked them to escort a Mongol princess to Persia, where she would marry. Okay, I got to pause there for a second. Remember, this is like the 1200s. This is about 700 and something years ago, almost 800 years ago. In those days, the parents arranged marriages. So you didn't get to choose who you wanted to marry. Your parents chose for you. I'm kind of glad, actually, I'm very glad we don't do that anymore, right? But back then, so this princess, the parents of this princess said, all right, you're going to go to Persia, a whole different country. Can you imagine sending your daughter off to another country to go marry somebody else? And so they asked the Polos to take her there. Crazy, but that is really how it was, okay? They departed with 14 ships. That's a lot. The princess and many hundreds of servants and sailors. Sailing south, they rounded Malay and the southern tip of India to finally land at Hormuz in Persia. The journey took 2 years. Can you imagine waiting 2 years just to get somewhere? It's hard to imagine. And most of the passengers and crew died from disease, drowning, or pirate attacks. Life was hard on the sea and on the ships, I'm sure. After delivering the princess, they continued by land to the Black Sea, from where they were able to sail home, reaching Venice in 1295. They had been gone for 24 years and traveled almost 15,000 miles or 24,000 kilometers. So that is a long, long, long time to be gone from home. 24 years. But they finally went back home. So I'm going to call this one travel home. Travel home to Venice, Italy. All right, another page. Keep going. Did you get that, William? Okay. And you got it too, Nisaya? Okay. In addition to various trade items, the Polos brought back to Italy many interesting spices, including peppercorns, cinnamon, and ginger, which quickly gained in popularity. So when they came back to Italy, they had never seen these spices before, because back in those days, people didn't travel the world like they do now. Now you can just go to LAX, get a plane ticket, and by tomorrow morning, you could be in another country. But remember, was 24 years, these guys were gone. So they brought back some stuff. And everybody's like, what? What's this? Ginger and cinnamon? What in the world? So those spices became popular then in Italy at that time. So 3 years after his return to Venice, Marco Polo was fighting in a war against the rival city of Genoa. He was captured and sent to prison in Genoa. There, with the help from a well-known author named Resticello, he wrote a book of his travels. He described Kublai Khan and his palaces, paper money, coal, a postal service, and eyeglasses, none of which had been seen in Europe yet. After a year in prison, the war was over, and he was freed to return to Venice. Eventually, he married, had 3 daughters, and continued as a successful merchant until his death in 1324 at age 70. So this is basically talking about his life after his travels. So I'm just going to put life after. This is when he came back home. Poor guy, he was gone for 24 years, came home, and then he got put in prison. I mean, he had a rough life. But during that time he was in prison, he wrote this book, which was pretty cool. And I'm going to keep going. Make sure you're underlining. The book entitled Description of the World or The Travels of Marco Polo sold well widely. However, many people didn't believe his stories, and the book got the nickname The Million Lies. At that time, books had to be hand copied, so it is possible that his stories were changed over the years. Nevertheless, people were amazed at the things he wrote. 2 centuries later, that's 200 years later, the book inspired Christopher Columbus, we know that guy, to think he could reach India by sailing west from Europe. On his deathbed, Polo was asked to admit that parts of his book were just made up. He answered that he had told barely half of what he actually saw. So he never admitted it was lies because he knew it was the truth. And then he said to them, that's not even all of it. That's barely even half of what I saw. All right, so this one's mostly about his book. So I'm just going to put the word book here. Okay, well, we got through the article. That was a lot of reading. Interesting guy, interesting life. Now go back to your keyword outline here. And let's make a list of our possible topics. So I want you to turn this over to the back. Okay, so the back of your keyword outline here. And I want you to put possible topics right here and draw a line under that. And this is where we're going to list the things we put in the margin of the actual article. So Nisaya, what did we put in the first paragraph in the notes in the margin there?
Early life.
Early life. I'm going to skip a line here and just put early life. And then what was next, Nisaya, after that paragraph?
Travel, China.
Travel, China. Making a list of all the things that we put in the margin. So William, what was on the next page behind that, what did we write in the margins?
Worked.
Work, China, and what else?
Travel home.
Travel, China. And then Nasaya, what are the last two paragraphs on that last page?
On the afterlife and book.
So life after, actually.
Life.
So his life, instead of afterlife makes it sound like he died and then he had like some kind of a dead experience after life, but life after meaning after his travels. So what was his life like after his travels? So life after and then book. Okay, good. That's all of them.
There
So
are two travel Chinas?
oh, yeah. I didn't mean to write it twice, but I did. That's okay. Oh, travel. You know what? Travel home. Thank you. I'm glad you caught that. Travel home. Early life, travel China, work China, travel home, life after, and then book. Thank you, Nasaya. Okay. These are your possible topics. Now, like I said earlier, you're going to write a 3-paragraph report ultimately, eventually. This week, you're only starting with the first paragraph. But we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 topics, but you only need 3. So this is where you guys get to pick what topic. Now, I'm going to make a suggestion for today. Because anytime you write about a person, it's really important to kind of give the background of who the person is, when were they born, kind of what was their early life like. So I want you to go ahead and just circle early life, because that's almost 100% of the time whenever you write a biography about somebody or a report about a person, you want to start there. And then after that, you get to choose what you're going to write about after that. But for today, we'll start with early life. All right, so turn it back over. And the early life was in that first paragraph here, right at the very beginning. Okay, so I'm going to have you just circle M and P. We're going to call this guy MP just to save us some space on our outline. So we don't have to write out Marco Polo every single time. We know MP stands for Marco Polo. And we're going to write about his early life. So the first part is when he was born. So we can put born and 1254 to a rich merchant family. So I'm going to put for rich, can we put a dollar sign? Can we remember that's rich? Rich merchant family. That's basically the first sentence. It's starting out, who's Marco Polo? When was he born? So from here, William, what is something else that you underlined in that very first paragraph about his early life? What else did you have?
His father and uncle had traded in the Middle East for years, gaining false names.
Okay, good. That's a lot to put in one line, but what do you think is the most important part about that sentence? How can we put it in your outline? We can count Middle East as one word. And then we probably need traded. And somehow we'll have to figure out how are we going to represent the father and the uncle. You have any ideas, William? No, he's like fresh out of ideas. Can we put maybe F for father? We could probably remember that. I'm thinking maybe like this, F for father, and then a plus sign, uncle. Because we'll remember they were always together, right? They're brothers. So F plus uncle. And then what other two words can we use that's part of that sentence, William?
Traded in Middle East.
I think so too. Yeah. So traded and then Middle East. Okay. And then Nasiah, what's something else that you have underlined in that first paragraph?
His mother died when he was young. He was raised in Venice, Italy by relatives.
Relatives. Yeah. Relatives, it just means like part of the family, right? So grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles basically are family. Yeah, that's a good one to mention. So sad, his mother died, and his mother died when Marco Polo was young. So, how can we put that, maybe just that part, that his mother died when he was young? How do you think we should put that, Nasiah?
Mother died. MP for Marco Polo, then young.
Yeah, let's do that. I like that. I like that you want to put MP there, because otherwise it might sound like the mother died when she was young, but it's about him being young. Good. And then I kind of like the second half of that sentence too. I wonder if we could add that on the next line, that he was raised by relatives in Italy. How can we put that in there, Nasiah? What do you think about that?
Raised Italy. Relatives?
Yeah, I think so. And William, if you have a different way to put it, you don't have to copy exactly, but if you want to copy, you can. And then relatives. And I'll have William, you can do the last two. So there's quite a bit left to choose from, but you only need two more facts. So what do you think, William? What should we put next?
His father and uncle left China when he was 6 and returned when he was 15.
Yeah, can you believe that? That's crazy. That's a long time. So he didn't have his mom, so he must have been with grandma or grandpa or somebody else. I don't know. It didn't really say, but okay, I like that too. How could we put that in how could we put this in the outline?
Do F plus uncle then.
Okay.
Do write down the number 6 and then returned and then 15.
Do you think we need China somewhere?
Oh yeah.
China next, maybe? And then six returned 15. Okay. How many years is that?
9.
Good job, Nasiah. 9 years. Yeah, that's a long time. like pretty much a big chunk of his childhood. He was already a teenager when they came back. And then William, what do you think we should put in the last one for number 5?
They had met the Mongolian emperor who sent his greeting to the Pope.
Okay. Okay. That's gonna be tricky. If we draw a cross, like, would that help us remember Pope, maybe? Yeah, you think so, William? So what could we put then for your outline?
Uh, met Mongolia emperor and then the cross or Pope.
Okay. So it was the emperor who sent his greetings to the Pope. Maybe we don't need the part about the Pope. Maybe we just say that they met the Mongolian or the Mongol emperor. We could just leave that. Or if you want to put the cross, you could put that on there. I'm thinking I'm going to put met Mongol emperor. The emperor is like the president, right? He's the main guy for the whole country. And if you want to put a little cross here, you can. If you want to mention the Pope here, draw a little cross. Okay, so now you're all set to write your first paragraph about the early life of Marco Polo. I know it's time to go, but look really quick at the checklist. I want to just remind you, this is on page 103. That who, which clause. Now, be really careful. You can't just throw that word in there and be done, okay? You can put the word in there, but then you have to add more to the sentence. I just want to make sure you remember that part. And then, so you still have 1, 2, 3, 4 dress ups to include. And you still have your topic clincher sentences to repeat 2 to 3 key words. So that, don't forget that. Don't worry about the title yet, because we're not going to be finished with it this week. We have more to write. So make sure you focus on those dress ups. The other thing is because of, don't use because of, okay? Stay away from that one. Just use because. And then tell why something is the way it is, not because of. You guys have any questions about the homework assignment this week? No? Okay, good. So you're going to use this and your checklist and write the first paragraph. All right, you guys, that's it for today, unless you have any questions or anything else to tell me.
I
Yes.
haven't finished the keyword outline yet.
Okay, I'll leave it up for you right here, okay? Thank you for telling me. So if you're done, you're free to go, Nasaya, and I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. See you later. I'll zoom in a little bit here, maybe you can see it better. I probably covered it up while you were trying to write earlier. Sorry about that.
I finished.
Okay, bye, William. See you next week.